Welcome to episode 3 of A Sprinkle of Disney. Welcome back if you've listened to our episode 2 or episode 1, or welcome if you've never listened before, and thank you very much for joining us. This episode, we're going to be talking about Disney Plus, but specifically we'll be discussing the Lady and the Tramp live action film, which is exclusive to Disney Plus, which is very exciting. And we'd just like to say a massive thank you as well for the engagement that we've had over on our Instagram page. We've had lots of feedback on our episodes, and we've had lots of people joining in on our photo challenge. We're currently doing a 31 day photo challenge over on Instagram, where we post a photo of a different Disney themed thing each day, and it's really fun. And we've had people dipping in and out of that, so it's quite nice. People don't have to do it every day, but it's quite fun to join in if you've got like a specific one that you want to join in on. So yeah, we'd just like to obviously open the episode by saying thank you very much for everyone that has been taking part in things and listening. But yeah, we'll just get into it.
Yeah, so the episode today is going to be really exciting and quite diverse with different things. So as Rosie mentioned, we are going to be focusing on Lady and the Tramp, the live action remake, but we're going to kind of bob into different Disney Plus elements as well. So we'll probably be doing more Disney Plus stuff in the future and like more about recommendations, but we're going to do like a little bit of that today, because obviously Disney Plus hasn't even been out a year yet. Some people may not have it. I don't know anyone who doesn't, but they might not. So, you know, we'll just tell you if it's worth it or not. So we're going to start with a little bit of that, kind of outlining Disney Plus a little bit. We're then going to kind of delve further into Lady and the Tramp, which I'm so excited about. So we're going to compare it to like the original version, like discuss like any changes or additions or things that they did differently. And then we're going to talk about the characters and the music as well. So we're going to kind of cover all of that for you. And then we're going to finish it off by giving, again, as we do with our summaries and our ratings of the film, and mention a few recommendations of what to watch on Disney Plus next as well, which I'm quite excited about. I love Disney Plus recommendations. I need to write a list.
Yeah, same.
I need to write a physical list, because people keep being like, oh, watch this, and I'm like, oh, okay, I really want to, and then I end up watching the same thing on Netflix over and over again. So I need to write that list.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
So hopefully that sounds like it's going to engage you. I'm really excited. And we've got our first Disney fun fact to kick us off. And Rosie has planned all of these this week, which is great because they are all Lady and the Tramp themed. So the first one is that, unlike other recent live-action Disney films like The Jungle Book and The Lion King, Lady and the Tramp uses a combination of real animals and computer animation. That makes sense, to be fair.
It does.
Because I don't think you'd bring, like, you know, a bear in.
Well, I was thinking this when I wrote that fact down earlier. I was like, well, it makes sense, but it's also nice to know.
That's really true. It's nice from like a process point of view to know like, that's what they did. But then when you actually think about it, you think, well, yeah, like a dog is easier than a lion, isn't it? So
yeah, and an extinct monkey as well from the Jungle Book.
Yeah. And I mean, is Bagheera a jaguar?
I think it's a panther, I think.
Yeah, I always get them confused because you can get black jaguars, can't you? So
yeah.
I get confused.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
a bit dangerous, isn't it?
A Cocker Spaniel is a little bit easier than that, isn't it? So it does make sense. But there you go.
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. But yeah, so we'll just start off with our thoughts on Disney Plus, because obviously we're talking about Lady and the Tramp, which is exclusive to the Disney Plus platform. So basically I'm just going to do a quick summary of what it is, just in case you don't know. As Katie said, I mean, I think at this point most people have either done the trial, heard of it, or have got the subscription as we have. But it is basically a subscription based on demand streaming service, which is created and owned by the Walt Disney Company. So it's basically a platform where there's pretty much everything. There's some things missing from Disney, but most of what you want Disney-wise is on there. So you've got like Disney Classics, you've got Disney Channel, you've also got Disney franchises. So you've got Pixar, you've got Marvel, and you've got Star Wars. You've also got things like The Simpsons, because they are also owned by Disney.
Oh, yeah, I always forget about them.
Yeah, which is a weird one because it comes up and I'm like, oh, The Simpsons. That's not really what I have in my mind for Disney Plus, but it's cool. It's a nice addition.
I quite liked the way they did the advertising for that, though, because obviously The Simpsons was added later.
Yeah. To
Disney Plus than when it launched, and if you look at all of the advertising for it, they had their like really clean like Disney Plus like banner, and then they just had like, is it Bart Simpson, the younger kid? I think so.
Yes.
I've never seen it really, so I don't know. But he's kind of like scribbling
Oh yeah, that's Bart.
and the Simpsons like next to like Marvel, Star Wars and stuff. Like I really thought that was really clever.
Yeah, it was really, really clever, like cleverly marketed. And also The Simpsons was actually a bit of a spoiler, but it was the short before Onward in the cinemas as well. There was a Simpsons short, and that was around,
Was there?
yeah, because that was just after Disney Plus had been launched. So it was quite a good, or just before,
So clever.
it was quite a good intro to getting The Simpsons into the Disney universe. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was cool. But as we were saying, it's kind of like an unexpected thing to see on Disney Plus, but a cool
Yeah.
addition because it's all there. Like all of the episodes are there. And another thing,
I don't think I'll ever watch it, Rosie, though. I'm sorry.
well, I might, if I scrape the barrel, which to be fair, I don't think is ever going to happen on Disney Plus.
I finally watched everything. I think because we weren't allowed to watch it as kids growing up. We weren't allowed to watch it. I don't know why. I think because it's rude, isn't it?
It is, yeah, a little bit.
So, and my mum doesn't like rude things. So it was one of those things that we just never ever watched. And it's a bit like why I don't drink tea.
It's just not routine.
We've never drank tea in our house. So
It's like you could, but why would you want to when there's other options, I guess?
no. So now I'm like, Simpsons. That's how I feel about tea.
But another I can't relate, sorry. But another edition which I love, and I keep saying I need to watch something from it, is the National Geographic stuff.
Yeah.
There's a whole section devoted to National Geographic, and like it's just really cool because it's all about the planet, all about animals. Like there's even like a Leonardo DiCaprio documentary on there, which sounds great.
I hate just for his voice in general.
I
to
know.
be fair, I've seen parts of the elephants one that they released with Meghan Markle as the voiceover because my dad was watching it. I don't know why, but my dad loves like nature and geography programs, so I kind of showed him Disney Plus in general and said, look, like you can use it for this. And was it Easter? Maybe it was Easter. I came downstairs and he had elephants on, and I was like, okay. And he was getting very attached to the matriarch elephant. So, I mean, I would recommend elephants. There you go. It was, and Meghan Markle has an amazing narration voice. I want her to like talk me to sleep. Honestly,
yeah,
it was good.
I think that will be what Leonardo's is like. I can't remember exactly what his is called. I think it's about like something. I think it's like the floods.
Sounds like Leo, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It sounds dramatic, which Leo is. But yeah, I just think it's great because there's so much on Disney Plus, and I do think a lot of people don't realize just how much there actually is to watch. Like it's not just Disney classics, and I think some kind of like people that are Disney fans but they're not like fanatics kind of just assume that it's like the classics and maybe a bit of Pixar and
that's
like
so
not
true.
even Marvel and Star Wars. So
yeah,
there is definitely something on there for everyone. Obviously we got it, I think it was March the 24th we got it, so the US got it back in November.
It's quite sad that we both know the exact date it came out in. We were counting down.
Well, countdowns were there. And it was the day after lockdown, so it was very welcome,
memorable. I'm gonna remember that for years, the day Disney Plus came out in the UK.
Yeah, definitely it was needed. Yeah. But yeah, so basically, I mean, there's just so much on there, so we thought it'd be a good idea to discuss how we've found it. We've now had it for quite a few months and we've watched quite a lot of stuff on there. So yeah, I mean, like, Katie, what do you think, like, as a user and as a subscriber, because obviously you're doing the payment. Yeah. I don't know if you do the monthly one or the year.
That's quite interesting because we have different subscriptions as well. So that's a really good point to start on. So I was like tempted to do the year because I was like, I doubt I'm ever not going to not use it. But I had Disney Life before this, right?
Yes.
Which I loved, don't get me wrong, I loved it. It was very outdated in terms of its interface. So if anyone that doesn't know, Disney Life is basically basically Disney Plus. It was only available in the UK, but you could only access it like via a laptop or via your phone. You couldn't stream it to your TV without a HDMI cable. So, and things like, Moana only came out on it like last year. Or like something like that. So it was really behind. So I didn't pay for the year because I was like, if it's the same as that, I don't necessarily want to commit. Like, I'm not sure. Also, it was a big payment at once. In terms of just finances in general, I thought I prefer to have like a small amount each month. That's just me personally. I think when I renew, I'll probably just pay the year because I'm never giving this up, ever. So I think that's like quite interesting the way that I came out of it, and because I had the free trial and just kind of like automatically went into that. Because I don't think you got the free trial with the year, did you?
No, I mean, I just literally went all in because
Yeah.
I just knew, like, I just trusted Disney.
Yeah.
And I think I love rewatching things anyway. So even if there wasn't the whole new content,
Yeah.
which is one of the things I do love about it, I'm so easy with just rewatching films. I knew I'd be content with what's on there anyway. So
yeah, that's so true. And I think as well, because they'd announced a lot of like new content based on Star Wars and Marvel.
Yes.
Which at the time, like, I wasn't particularly like engaged with.
True.
I was like, is it actually going to be worth it for me? Is it going to have the stuff on it that I want? Like, I knew there was stuff they were releasing, which I would have liked, but I think I was also skeptical because it was such a big launch. And I was like, the last thing I want to do is pay for a year and it doesn't work for 2 months.
Yeah, that's true.
So I had faith in them, but I was also like, do I have £60 worth of faith in you straight away? Potentially not. So, and I'm someone who quite likes the ease of being able to cancel within a month. I like that option. So I got it day one. I was so excited. Like, I was literally counting down the hours. Because I think, did I do the pre-order? I can't remember. And I told all my colleagues in work, I was like, do you know what's happening tomorrow? And they were like, oh, wow. And actually, it's funny how you say about like people who aren't necessarily into it. Like, I told them to go and get the Disney Plus like trial. I was like, because it exists. I was like, so even if you're not a massive Disney fan, just go and have a look, because I promise there's things on there. And our events manager was like, so what's on there? And I was like, this is my chance. This is my time to pitch it. So I was like, Star Wars, like Marvel, National Geographic, like list it all. And he was like, oh, I'll give it a look. And I was like, he had converted him. And for anyone that like would know him, he's quite, I mean, he looks like he's quite into like rock and roll music and stuff. Like, we always joke about how different our like interests are, because I've got like a Alice in Wonderland door knocker pencil holder on my desk at work, and I think when he came in, he like asked what film it was from, and I was like, unacceptable. Like, it's iconic. So if I could get him to do a free trial, then clearly Disney should
that's
hire
it.
me.
Like, there's so much on there. Well, yeah, like I think people do judge things with Disney quite a lot as well.
Yeah, they really do.
They think it's very childish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole debate in itself. We'll have an episode dedicated
to
that.
We should.
But I think it just proves like there is just so much on there for everyone. And so
there's so much old content. So we found this out because me, Rosie, and our other friend Danielle do weekly quizzes that are normally Disney focused. And our friend Danielle did one on Disney Channel movies. Rosie and I were shook about the scale of Disney Channel movies, and they're all on. There's only 2 that weren't. There's only 2 from like 19
most of them were
something.
On there. Yeah.
That wasn't on this on Disney Plus. So I remember the very first day I got it, I'm not even gonna lie, I woke up before work and I just kind of sat and stared at my television. Like, I just scrolled through, because I loaded it on my Xbox as the app, and I just looked at it. Such a saddo. I just looked at it and like scrolled through the channel.
It's just so overwhelming. Like, so much Disney all in one place. Like, I know there was Disney Life, but I'm sorry,
it wasn't the same.
It's just nothing like it. Like, there's no comparison.
The user journey for this is incredible, and it's so easy to use, whereas Disney Life wasn't. Like, it crashed quite a lot. Like, I mean, it was great to have it. Like, the US didn't have it, so it was great that we had it, but it crashed a lot. It like I said, the content was really slow to upload.
Exactly.
It was clunky, I think was the word that I would use to describe it. Like, it hadn't been finished yet, which clearly it hadn't, because they were prepping for
because they were waiting for this.
Because Rosie and I have kind of both read Bob Iger's book and like his autobiography about Disney and like his life there, and they talk about, they planned Disney Plus for quite a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if Disney Life was like a beta test for it.
It was kind of like a backseat, like, because they were focusing on the bigger thing in the future.
So I came home that day. I kind of sat and just scrolled through them all, and I looked. It was so exciting to think I can watch any of these movies at any point.
Yeah.
Any movie that I feel like I want to watch. I don't need the DVD. I don't need to wait for it. Like, I can watch it now. And things like Marvel and Star Wars weren't on Disney Life. So to have suddenly that whole plethora of films was insane. So the first thing I actually watched, ironically, I waited all day in work. I was so excited for Lady and the Tramp, the live. That was obviously because that previewed on Disney Plus that day.
Yeah.
It launched and that was exclusive. I was so excited. This was the first thing that I actually watched on Disney Plus. And I personally think it was the perfect thing to watch first, because it was like something brand new, something old, kind of like joined together.
It's exclusive though as well.
So I love it.
Really
I recommend it to anybody. The price is insane. Like, I think I pay $5.99 a month.
Yeah.
I paid $4.99 a month for Disney Life. So the fact that I pay an extra £1 for so much more
for
stuff.
all of that, yeah.
Yes, please. And I think it only works out at like I think is it like between £10 and £20 more doing it monthly than yearly.
I think something like
because
that.
they had their initial offer as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's slightly different.
Yeah.
But for me, the price is perfect. I mean, it's less than the price of one DVD.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Yeah, because DVDs are like £10. Like,
yeah, especially Disney ones.
Yeah.
And however, I still collect Disney DVDs.
Same.
I still collect them because I like the idea of kind of having them there if I ever need them.
Mm-hmm.
And if, for example, I don't know, internet crashes or the app goes down or Disney goes bust, can you imagine? I'd have those DVDs. It's like a collector's item.
Yeah.
And because I like the ones that are in the sleeves as well.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't played Disney DVD in a very long time because I've not got Disney Plus. So I definitely recommend it. I think I would give it honestly like a 10 out of 10. I'm not even joking. People who complain about it, and if you one of these people, I'm sorry, but people who complain about it, I think are people that go on wanting something specific that isn't there.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you can, because basically everything is on it.
There's so much. Yeah.
And people who haven't done their research. So like when people kicked off about Frozen 2 not being on it when it started, they were really clear about the fact that Frozen 2 would not be on it till July. We actually got it early. We got it early anyway.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And people were kicking off, and I was like, well, if you researched it, they were quite specific that it wouldn't be on. People kicked off about The Mandalorian only being one episode a week. I was like, but they said it'd be episodic. So if you haven't done your research,
well, yeah,
you kind of can't complain, and it's the only place you can access these things anyway. So it does frustrate me when people complain about it, because the amount of content on there for the price, even if you wanted to pay for 1 month and watch the entirety of The Mandalorian now, that would be cheaper than going and buying a box set.
Yeah, well, it's incredible value for money. This is what I was going to say. I just think like there's such a huge selection. Like I said earlier, I barely scraped the barrel. Like I barely scraped the surface of what there is on there, especially with all the new content. Like I kind of held back on watching like the Imagineering story and all of those things. I'm saving them. I don't know what for, but I'm saving them.
I'm the same. I'm also scared that I'll cry if I watch them, because they're going to be filled with the Disney parks. And right now, I think I'm a bit emotionally unstable when it comes to the parks.
Same. Yeah, I am. I mean, yeah, I completely agree. So I think that's probably why they've been pushed to the back seat until We
should definitely watch them together and then do a podcast on them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And that can be our excuse to watch them.
Yeah, and we'll feel a bit more like less sad, hopefully, or we'll just cry together. We'll see. But like, like I've even been rewatching older stuff, like just because it's there. Like you say, it's so accessible. Like stuff that I love, but I don't always watch because I don't have the DVD like around. It's just there, just one click away. So
if you fancy it, like, so it was a few weeks ago. Like I like Peter Pan. I'm not particularly like one of my favourite films, but I was reading the Twisted Tale book. Don't get me started on that. I will put that. That was on my Instagram story a few weeks ago. That's another story. But I was reading the book, and it got me kind of like into the characters again. So I thought I'd quite like to watch Peter Pan. I just went and watched it, like literally like an hour and a bit. That normally I would never get the chance to do, because I have to go and find the DVD or find it online or pay for it. And
it's a faff. Yeah, normally it's like takes too long.
But it was so easy, and because it's on my TV as well. Like, that was the problem with Disney Life, is that I had to plug my HDMI cable in, move it to the TV, it all down, and it was tiny on the screen.
It's a whole ordeal. Whereas this, it's just one click and make it full screen, turn the volume up, get your snacks.
So, as a year subscriber then, Rosie, is it worth it for the year?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I would pay more than what I'm paying for the year. I honestly would.
Me too, actually.
Obviously,
I pay more a month.
I don't want to spend more money than I have to. No, like don't take my money too much, Disney. Like I pay you a lot.
Don't put the price up. That is not what we're asking.
Yeah, but I just think you can't complain at that price. You really can't. It's cheaper than Netflix. No.
Yeah.
So it's a win for me, complete win, and I'd recommend it to anyone. Like, and I think especially the free trial. Why would you not? Why would you not do that just to check it out? So
even just for the exclusive content, like for that free week.
Exactly. And I think I've had barely any issues with it as well. Like I had like a couple of times where I had to like restart it because something crashed.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, like it's technology, it's gonna happen, isn't it?
And I think normally, like I had it with I went to my nan's house at the weekend and watched Zootropolis for the first time with her. I have seen it many times, but it was her first time. And to be fair, like her internet is always a bit problematic anyway, and her TV is like slightly smaller and quite older. So it did crash in the middle, but I think that was more her TV and the internet. I've never had a problem with the actual app. It's always been great for me, whatever I've used it. It's always been really fast. And then if it does buffer, it kind of resolves itself really quickly, and I think because it attaches itself to internet, it's normally an internet
Yeah,
problem
more
than an art
likely.
problem.
Yeah.
Which is, so yeah, I agree. No problems from me.
So yeah, well, it's a glowing review from us, really, isn't it? And we're going to get to our recommendations later in the episode, because obviously we want to go in and talk about Lady and the Tramp now. We've kind of bigged it up a bit.
So ready.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
So yeah, we might as well move on. But before that, I'll move on to our second fun fact of the episode. So for Disney, it was important that as many of the dogs as possible used in the film to Lady and the Tramp were from shelters, but it was imperative that dogs cast as Tramp were rescue dogs. I think that's really, really nice. So both Monty, the primary tramp, and Billy Idol, his backup, were found through rescue agencies. I think that's just so nice because it just shows, like, I don't know, the whole message of the film. Like, they actually believe in their messages as well. Like, they believe that all dogs like deserve a chance, and it's just a nice thing to promote. And it's also not something they're promoting. Like, they're not saying like, oh, we've made these like characters rescue dogs. Like,
it wasn't public knowledge. Was it? It wasn't like part of the review, like the advertising for it. I only found this out. I found out with like articles, I think, about the premiere or something like that. And you're right. I think it adds to the film, and they rehomed them afterwards as well. So they got them from the shelters for the film, and then kind of rehomed them after the film as well. So it wasn't like they were kind of used and thrown back. So I agree. I love that.
Yeah, and I think it just, like, again, makes me love Disney even more because, you know, it's just like something else that they stand for that's really nice. So yeah, that's like a nice way to introduce us to our segment on Lady and the Tramp. So again, like, I'm sure a lot of you probably have seen the original Lady and the Tramp, but there may be some of you that haven't, or you might like a reminder anyway. So I'm just going to briefly summarise what the plot is. So basically it follows a pampered Cocker Spaniel called Lady. She lives a very refined lifestyle because she's got two upper middle class owners, Jim Dear and Darling, very posh names, might I say as well. And basically her comfortable life just slips away because they have a baby, and she's no longer their priority in life. She's no longer the centre of attention. And due to multiple tense circumstances, she finds herself cast out on the streets, where she meets Tramp. Although, as we'll discuss, he's not necessarily named that in this film. He's got many names. So she befriends Tramp, and he kind of acts as like a protector with her as well, and shows her like the ways of the streets and things. And a romance blossoms between the two of them. But through a few dramatic circumstances, this is threatened. So yeah, it's quite a dramatic film when you think about it.
I was about to say, when you're watching it, you get so absorbed. But when you think about it, the fact that it's dogs,
exactly.
In that situation, you think, wow, that is dramatic.
There's just a lot going on. Like, there's a lot to take in. Like, I mean, because I've seen this film lots of times, but as I was like kind of getting like a plot summary together that kind of covers the whole thing, I was like, actually, there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot.
I mean, these dogs would be traumatized.
Yeah. I mean, so it's quite a dramatic film. But also, another thing to add as well, it's actually the 75th anniversary of the original Lady and the Tramp this month, a few days ago, I believe. So how fitting that we're doing this episode. I mean,
we totally did that on purpose.
Yeah, because it was released in August 1955. It's been 75 years since the original came out. So, I mean,
that's aged well, that film, to be fair.
It has. I think I was actually going to say as well that it's probably one of my favourite Disney classics for the time period it's in. It's
one that I never really like. I'm drawn to watch, but if someone was like, "Let's watch Lady and the Tramp," I'd be like, "Oh my god, yes!"
Yeah, because it ranks up there a bit more for me than some of the older ones, especially in terms of animation and things as well.
Yeah, I think the animation seems to be it seems to uphold itself a lot better than some of the older ones. And I also love, cheeky shout out very briefly to Lady and the Tramp 2, Scamp's Adventure.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
What a film.
That's
all I'll say.
Yeah, go and watch that if you haven't watched it on Disney Plus. Also,
we should definitely do like a sequels thing where we discuss sequels at some point, because we are sequel fans. Sorry if you're not, but we are.
Also, probably should say we're not sponsored by Disney Plus, by the way. We're just promoting it off our own accord.
Oh, the Disney Plus, if you're listening, we will be open to deals.
More than happy to oblige. But yes, so we thought we'd start by kind of discussing our thoughts on the live action version of this film, and also compare it to the original film, because there are a lot of changes to the original, and there's a lot of additions as well. Some of them, as we'll probably discuss, are welcome. Some of them were maybe a bit like, oh, should have stuck to the original on that one. So yeah, Katie, what are your like overall thoughts, I guess, on the live action?
So I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be really bold. Okay. And proudly exclaim that I prefer this live action to the 1955 animation, right? I prefer this one.
No, okay.
I mean, to be fair, you'll find out that I am an advocate for the live actions. I love them. And this one, for me, I just felt like nothing can ever beat like the nostalgia of like turning on like the original one. Like that's a lovely nostalgia. Turn that on, that original 1955 one, and kind of be back in your childhood of watching those cartoon dogs. Nothing can ever kind of beat that element of it. However, I felt like this film tugged on your heartstrings so much more. And I feel like if anyone saw like the live action 101 Dalmatians and they did 102 Dalmatians or something like that, I feel like this achieved what that one attempted to. And what I mean by that is that like dogs, the thing with dog films is they're cute, right? That's the thing that draws people in the adverts and the posters. People are like, oh my god, the dog's adorable. So I feel like that element of something being cute within like 101 Dalmatians is kind of a bit overwhelming because there's hundreds of them. So it's like, oh, okay, there's dogs. Whereas I feel like in this one, because the dogs were like really rounded characters, like I just loved them so much more. Like I've never wanted a dog, right? Really in life. And I've been like, I mean, I like dogs. Never saw myself with one. After this film, I wanted a dog. And I think that was the difference, is that it wasn't just about the story. Like the characters, the dogs felt more like characters than some human characters, which, you know, I'll talk about later when we talk about characters, but I felt like they were a lot more relatable than some of the human characters I've seen in things like rom-coms.
I completely agree.
So that's what, you know, I really enjoyed that element of it, that they managed to really pull on the human element of the dogs, if that makes sense to people. So yeah, I feel like you can see the dogs as like part of your family in a way that I never really could with the animated one. Probably that's to do with the fact that they are real dogs. So I could imagine Lady in my house. I could imagine like, you know, and Tramp really reminds me like, and looks a lot like my nan's dog, who used to be our dog. So I imagine that people around the globe will have had the same responses I did, like, oh, that looks like my dog.
Yeah, they can relate.
Which you don't necessarily get in animation because it's a lot more basic. And so I think I loved that part of it. And I felt like it gave it an edge over the animation in the original because it's real. And we as humans seem to just love being like, oh my God, dogs. So when they're real, it just seemed to make a lot more sense. So in terms of the differences between them, obviously the new film is like a lot longer than the animation. It's like an extra 45 minutes longer, which what I loved about this was that it actually gave us time for Tramp and Lady to actually fall in love. So as we noticed again, if you listen to episode 2 when we talk about Snow White, because lots of the older classics were either shorter or, you know, the plot was more focused on the animation, etc. The actual characters got lost a bit. So Lady the Tramp had like a meatball and then we're together, right?
Forever.
Basically. Whereas I feel like in this one, like if you've seen it, you'll see like they go on so many more adventures, they talk a lot more, and it feels like a lot more of like a connection rather than just here's the male and the female lead.
Yeah, just to be set up, just to fall in love. That's why you're here. It's like a mechanism rather than like a natural thing. And
I mean the cinematography, I'm going to nerd out a little bit. Oh my God. Like the scenes they had, like the scene on the riverboat that kind of echoes the Princess and the Frog.
Oh, I know.
One of my favourite scenes, and I think that's what I loved about it, is you saw just so much of their area, and you saw it sounds really stupid, but you saw it from like a dog's point of view.
No, but that's what you want though, like.
Yeah. So I think like when you look at the cinematics, I think right from the beginning as well, you know, like when they kind of come in from like the drawing of the scenery, and as they zoom in, like the drawing becomes real life. I mean,
incredible.
Hats off to Disney animators, because I don't know how it's so seamless. I mean, it was just beautiful, and I think you get taken straight into their home as well, like with the shots and stuff like that. And I don't know if people notice, I'm a bit of a cinematographer now when it comes to these things. I love the nods to the original film. So like when you go onto the staircase, the original animation had like a stained glass window in Lady's house. The new one had that as well, and they kind of like zoom over that and kind of like give that a moment. And I remembered that window from, I think it was the second one, actually. I think it was the second one I remember that window from. So to see that in the first one, you get like that nice link of nostalgia. Same with like the other live actions where they kind of make links to the old ones.
Yeah.
Like Celine Dion singing a song in the credits of the Beauty and the Beast one. Like those links, I think, make it extra special for people who've seen the originals.
Yeah.
Which I loved. And if you have seen the pound scene, so this again is a bit nerdy, the camera is always at like Lady's level. So you literally feel like you are there with the dogs rather than watching down on the dogs, which I think is really clever. So yeah, I mean, there's other the things I wasn't necessarily a fan of in the edits. We'll talk about later because it's the music and stuff that I was a bit like. We'll talk about that later when we talk about music in particular. But I just felt like the use of real dogs and the extra length just gave it more heart. It's like a summary for me. And it's one that I would, you know, as we said, normally I wouldn't kind of turn the animation one on unless there was like a reason to, or like unless someone else suggested it. Whereas I feel like this one I would actively go and watch it, and I'd recommend it to people.
Yeah, I
think is the difference.
Definitely would do the same as well.
Yeah, so yes, that's my overall like summary. I mean, I think lots of the changes, I really enjoyed the fact that Lady was kind of, I enjoyed Lady a lot more. I think she was less prissy. I know it's really silly because she's still like a posh lady in it.
Yeah.
But like she was less prissy in terms of like she still felt like a dog, which sounds really silly, but she still had like dog-like tendencies. And she was a lot more likable in the beginning as well than I think the original Lady was, because she is a lot more like hooty tooty in the original.
She's a bit more stuck up, isn't she, in the original? I think there's less sympathy for her, I think, in the original for me. Like in this one, I actually felt sympathetic to her because she's very naive, which is always a bit of a flaw. But I think she does actually like address that she understands what position she's in when she finally, like when she meets Tramp and he's like, this is my life, and she's like, oh, like I didn't realize people live like this, and she doesn't get all like kind of stuck up about it. She's like, oh wow, like she kind of takes a new perspective, and I think that's why I appreciate her more in this one, because in the original I don't think she does it quite as much. So
that's again, now you said that, you made me think, I think that's a really important message for today with things like privilege.
Yes.
And I think what an important message to kind of send out, that A, it's okay to recognise like that sometimes you're more fortunate than others, and B, it's okay to change your mind on something.
Exactly.
Like, because Lady definitely changes her mind on this film in a lot of things, on her opinion of being a street dog, on Tramp as a person. So if you're translating that into normal culture, like everyday culture, about changing your opinions on the people that you meet or the people that you prejudge, changing your opinions on the way people live their lives and assuming that it's for a certain reason and you don't actually know. So I think it has, again, like most Disney films do, it has a really strong undercurrent of mature themes as well,
exactly,
which I hadn't thought about till you brought up. So
well, you know, Pella wasn't for you there. But like, I think the other thing as well, sometimes with live action films, I feel like they're just there to kind of do the same story again, and it's just kind of there so they've got like a live action version of it.
Don't get me started on the Lion
King. Yes. So
that's what we're talking about, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it is really. But like, I just think this one, like you were saying with the length, I just love that it was so much longer. Like it felt so like more relaxed to watch in terms of like we actually got to see their time together. Like you said, they got
it was an adventure, wasn't it?
It was an adventure. They got to form a proper bond together, and like you say, the riverboat scene is phenomenal. It's actually unreal. Like I love it. And like you say with the panning, I'm not as technical as you, but like when you get like the close-ups of them and you're at their level, it is like you're like a dog there with them, like, you know, in the surrounding areas. And that scene is one of the most special scenes in like a live action film for me. That, and which I will talk about more later, when they're on top of that hill,
oh my god, the hill
with the view at night time of all the lights, because it's meant to be set in New Orleans. It wasn't filmed in New Orleans,
but it's meant to be set there, isn't it?
But it's meant to be set there, hence the riverboat, and why it's like Princess and the Frog. But like that scene when they're at the top of the hill with all the lights of the whole city, it's just breathtaking.
I think I cried. I did
as well. Like, it's so overwhelming. Like,
I just thought it was so beautiful. I think
too.
I did, because that's when Tramp tells his story as well, isn't it?
It is.
So we get more backstory from Tramp at that point. I definitely cried.
I think you know what? I think I cried about 3 or 4 times during this film.
I had a little weep.
Because this is the other thing. Clearly, they've played their cards right in terms of being realistic and relatable with like the themes in the story. And I know they're dogs, but that's a great thing that it's relatable. If they're dogs, like, and humans can relate, that is great, because it shows that they are like connecting with like real life issues and real life themes. And I just think, like, when you see scenes that are so like breathtaking and spectacular with animals I just think Disney they've done something amazing there. So,
because let's not forget, Rosie loves a good animal in Disney film. So
well, yes, as you'll know if you listen to the last episode, I do love animals. I'm not like a huge dog fan. If I like them, I'm more of a cat person. But I mean, this film, you know, it could convert anyone. Like, I honestly, like, you know how Darling gets Lady for Christmas. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say no to a dog.
Do I need to send your boyfriend hints that you need?
Well,
I'll be like, so Rosie wants a big box with a dog in it.
Yeah, somehow I don't see that happening because he's a massive cat fan. Aside from that, you know, that's not the only reason.
That's the only problem. So yeah, I think we've probably got similar thoughts on it then as well, in terms of like what we appreciated in it. And I think, like you say, it feels deeper. It feels like there's more connection, and that you can enjoy the characters and the story more because it's deeper. But I will say that one of my friends, Amy, who's like she actually has a Disney account. It's Amy at Disney. I met her on my Disney program when I was in Florida, and we chatted about this, and she said that she didn't like it because she found the dogs really creepy.
Oh, interesting.
She found the fact that the dogs talking was really creepy, and I was like, fair. I was like, that's something that, like, if you feel that, you're not going to get over it. Like,
you can't unsee it once you've seen it.
No.
You can't unsee it. So I
mean, I watched it back, and I still don't see it, thankfully. No. But I think that is something that's kind of worth considering, is that although it's real dogs, it's a combination of real dogs and computer animation. Yes. So if that kind of thing freaks you out a little bit, then it might not be your favourite. You might not enjoy as much as we have.
Yeah.
Because I think we both have really wide imaginations, I think.
Yeah.
So we tend to sort of pass that really easily, I think. But for some people, that will probably set you off a little bit. Something to think about as well. Definitely. The other side of the argument.
But as I don't want to dig in too much to The Lion King, because I did enjoy it, but I do think it's more like enjoyable to see the dogs speaking, and it seems more natural somehow.
The lions were weird.
Yeah. It just didn't fit. The vibe wasn't quite there for me.
Do you know what? We'll do another Lion King one, because I feel like we need to do one. Again, I enjoyed the film. Would I ever watch it again? Probably not. And I think you're right. I think the speaking of it, like the lion speaking, the lion facial expressions weren't there as much.
Yeah.
Dog expressions were. So I feel like, you know, they progressed in this one. They definitely progressed. Definitely.
And I think I'd go as far to say this is probably like my second favourite live action that Disney have done, because Aladdin's my favourite.
There we go.
So, but Lady and the Tramp, I mean, this is great.
I don't know, you know. I haven't thought about that question. I'll get back to you in the next live action about my favourites, because I don't know. I haven't thought that question.
To be fair, I feel like I made a decision on the spot, but I think it's hit me as we've talked about it, how much I love this film.
Yeah.
So
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Well, that brings us to the end of our second segment, which, as we all know, means that we have another Disney fun fact. So number 3 today is that I love this one. I think this is amazing. Brace yourselves. So there wasn't a hillside available in Savannah where they could shoot the classic nighttime scene for the film, the one that Rosie just mentioned. So they built a hill behind their soundstage. Is that not the most Disney thing you've ever heard?
It definitely is. So just so magical, like the extra steps they've taken to get that magical scene in place. Yeah. I mean,
and it was worth it. Like, if you haven't seen the film,
so worth it.
Keep an eye out for this scene. Like, you'll know what we mean. There's a scene where Lady and the Tramp are like on this hill overlooking the entire city of a night time, and it's just like, I wish I was a dog. Like, that was when I was watching it. I wished I was a dog. So yeah. So moving then into segment 3, we're going to look specifically at 2 different types of elements within the film. So the first one is the characters, and the second one is the music, because we feel like they're 2 factors that have a real impact on whether you like the film or not. So we're going to discuss in terms of characters, Lady and Tramp. We know there's loads more, and there's Lily haven't even mentioned the fact that like this. What's the Scotty dog called? Remind me. Rosie.
Jock, but Jacqueline. So it's still Jock, but it's a
Yeah.
female dog this time.
In this film, like Jock is actually a girl, which I actually quite enjoyed. I wasn't sure about it at first, but it was so funny. It's a very different role than in the original film, whereas like Jock is more like, you know, there to be in on the action. It's funny. So I mean, not for everyone. I don't think it was a necessary change.
No,
I don't necessarily think it adds anything. I just think it's like it's pleasant. It
has comedic value, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I guess it kind of adds in more. There's not a lot of comedy in the first one.
Mm-hmm. It's more serious.
There's more comedy. So there are loads of characters we could talk about because there's so many. But the ones we're going to focus on obviously are Lady and Tramp because they are the ones I think that get the most change from the first film. Because everybody else just still seems to be a supporting character.
Yeah.
So Lady and Tramp, right? Rosie, hit me. Opinions of Lady, opinions of Tramp.
Okay, so I probably start off by saying that Tramp is my favourite of the two, which I might be a bit controversial, I don't know. But I'll talk about Lady first. So what I like about Lady in this one is that she seems to be a bit more independent and she seems to have a bit more of a brain. I don't know, it sounds a bit harsh.
No, I know what you mean.
But she has awareness. Maybe it's awareness, like more awareness, more empathy, I guess. She can relate to other people more. And I just love that she can like fend for herself. So we know the scene where she's got the muzzle on, she's just escaped the pet shop. Absolutely terrifying scene in both films, by the way.
So scary.
And she just stumbles across some other dog's like den, and he's obviously got his sausages waiting there for him. He wants these sausages, and there she is like dashing in, and he's angry. He's really angry, and he starts threatening her, and she is quite scared at the time. And then obviously Tramp does come along and kind of helps her out with like the whole backstory of like, oh yeah, she's got rabies. Have you not seen? But I love is that she has the awareness to follow along with that whole, oh, I've got rabies, oh, okay, and she acts on it. And I think it just shows like she's just a bit more like confident and independent than the other lady, because
that's really true. Actually, she's got a lot more oomph as well. She has. Like although she's quite naive in certain areas, she's got a bit more like natural street smart. Yeah,
before meeting Tramp as well.
Yeah, I think she's got motivation as well. Like her motivation is obviously to get home to her family. And that, although she has that in the first one, in this one, it actually makes her more determined to do things rather than just to wallow and miss home.
And I think she just seems a bit less timid and scared, actually, by the whole prospect of being out on the streets in this one. Like you say, I do think she's quite prissy in the original, where she's like, oh, no, like, I can't possibly be out on the streets. Like, I'm from this really nice family, really nice house. Like, this isn't for me. Like, whereas in this one, she kind of just takes on the chin, doesn't she? And she just gets on with it. Like, obviously at first she's not convinced by Tramp, and she's not like comfortable with being around the streets and things.
I mean, he is a bit dodgy at the beginning.
Would you
trust him straight away? I wouldn't.
No, because I mean, he does kind of just go to the next door garden and pretend to be her friend as well. Tends to be trusty, bit dodgy, but I think it's just nice. Danger. Yeah, I think it's just nice because she just seems a bit more like accepting of what's happening, and that she'll just get on with it. She hasn't got that kind of like giving up attitude about her. Like she will
so true.
She'll get to where she needs to be. So I think that's like one of the main things I like about her, and I think it's quite empowering as well compared to the original, because I know it's set in the same time period, but I think it reflects the changes in our time for female characters. I know we're talking about a dog here, I'm fully aware it's a dog, but like I just think she just seems a bit more like aware of what's going on in the world, and she does stand up for herself a bit more. And I think like even if Tramp hadn't have come along, I'd like to think she probably would have pulled something herself anyway.
I agree.
Because we've seen her in a garden with her friends Trusty and Jock, and we know that she's quite sassy.
Yeah, that's
as
true.
Well.
That's really true. I think that's what makes her so much better in this film. Is I think again it's that development of character, more elements, and again it comes back to that idea, unfortunately, of that female presentation in films, and the idea that 1955 we're still talking like not exactly talking modern feminist era, are we?
No.
So I think it's that idea that, you know, and she develops in that film, but she does start out as very prim and proper. I must this, I must do that, etc. Whereas this one, that's what I mean about her still being like a dog. Like she still wants to like run around, and she'll still like growl at people and all that kind of stuff. And like when the nan or the ant comes to stay, and she's like growling at her and stuff like that. Like I think she has more of those like gusto tendencies that just make her a lot more likable from the start. And it comes back to that idea that I think Disney really cracked in Brave. When your family is your motivation, like you'll do anything. And that idea like that instead of it making her weak and sad, it makes her strong and empowered
and determined. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So I think in terms of like character development from the original, they've done wonders with her. And obviously, like, as well, I think she's a beautiful dog as well.
Oh my God, I want one.
Stunning, like, absolutely stunning. So, yeah, I honestly think they've improved her, like, tenfold in this film. And she's just likeable. Like, I think the other thing is, I don't know if she was quite as likeable in the classic. Like, I think there were times where you just think, oh, come on, get over it. Like,
you were just a bit more indifferent to her, weren't you? Like, it wasn't like you didn't like her, but it was, I'm like, you know, Lady's great. But I feel like this one, you have a lot more active emotion towards her.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think she's a really, really great character. And like you were saying before, I feel like I forget she's a dog because she seems more mature than like a lot of like adult characters in other films, especially like romantic ones.
That's my thought as well. We'll get to that in a second.
So yeah, like I think they did really well with her. But then Tramp, I love Tramp in this film because I just think like they've changed his character quite a bit. I don't know if it's kind of that obvious or where it's quite subtle, but he's not like the kind of player that he's made out to be in the original. Like he's known to be that kind of mutt that just goes around, like hangs out with like other female dogs and then just abandons them, moves on to the next one. Like he's not like the lone wolf that he is in this film. Like in this film, his goal is to just stay on his own and just get on with things and not kind of get too attached to anyone, because as we find out with his backstory, he was attached originally with the family he was with, and then they just cast him out. So obviously in this film, I like that we actually get a bit more of a backstory with him, and we know why he is the way he is, because in the original we don't really have that explanation to his character so much. So it kind of just seems a bit like, oh, like, you know, he needs to.
I think that's what the live actions do really well. I think they are really good at filling in those gaps and giving explanations and reasons for things, which I think is a problem with The Lion King, actually, with it as a live action, is that we already knew all the motivation.
Exactly.
We knew it all.
Yeah.
But there was nothing, because I was waiting for something new in The Lion King, which I think is why we'd be disappointed. Whereas if you look at things like Beauty and the Beast and the whole, like, you know, Belle's mum dying of like the plague, and then when you have, like, you know, all the villagers having forgotten things.
Yeah.
You're right, that's what they do so well, because it makes you, as an adult rewatching them as well, it makes you enjoy it more, because it's like things like, oh, that makes sense now. So it appeals to kids and adults by doing that, I think.
It just connects the dots that maybe you were wondering before as well, like, oh, why is he so kind of skeptical and cynical about life? Like, where's that come from? And then you get to see that obviously background scene of his life, and you're like, oh, okay. And I just think it makes him more relatable, and you're more sympathetic to him knowing what he went through, and it obviously explains why he is the way he is to Lady as well when he's warning her. And I like this is a change as well in the live action, that he actually breaks the news that her owners are going to have a baby, because she talks about it and she's like, oh yeah, Darling's got quite a lot bigger, and I think she jokes it's about like snacks or something. But Tramp's like, obviously he's aware, he's like, no, I've seen this before, like they're going to have a baby and you're going to be cast out. And obviously he's quite brutal about the way he says it, but I like that he says it in this film. In the original, it's actually Jock and Trusty that break the news to her. And I think it's just a bit more meaningful coming from him, especially as like later in the film we find out that the exact same thing happened to him, but obviously he was actually cast out. Lady wasn't, you know, actually binned off by her owners. So I just think like little touches like that just make it a bit more realistic and a bit more meaningful. And also the other thing I love about Tramp is that he doesn't actually definitively have a name in this film. He says he goes by lots of different names, and obviously like people know him as the Tramp as well, but when Lady asks him what his name is, he just says, I go by lots of different names, and he doesn't have a definitive one. And on his collar at the end, he doesn't have a name either. So I like that he's not been like branded as the Tramp. Like he's kind of got like an open name, which I quite like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just makes him a bit more.
It gives him more potential, doesn't it? And less of a label.
A bit more character. But yeah, so overall, I definitely love both of the characters. And I think probably for the same reasons you like them as well.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I guess the only thing that I would probably slightly like disagree with you a little bit on is the element of the whole like player thing. But I think they do it in a different way, because obviously the whole song "He's a Tramp," which we'll talk about in the music, that is where it kind of comes into it more, and it makes Lady question him. But I think what's clever about that is we don't know whether he actually is a player, or whether it's that classic idea of, like you say, him wanting to be alone and not being interested in other women.
Yeah.
They leave that open to interpretation, which I think is quite nice, because you can make your own decision on him and their relationship. And I think by keeping that in, they kind of, again, allude to the original, but let you decide, like, are women just desperate for him?
Yeah.
Or is he actually a player? So I think, again, it's more levels. It's rather than just being, like, cut and dry, like, oh, he, like, has all these women, like, it gives it more depth again. So, and I agree with everything that you have said, but for me, the special thing is them together. Like, I don't actually think I have a favourite. I think, like, I mean, it probably is Lady in itself, because I have a Lady plushie that I have had since I was probably about like 4 or 5.
I used to have one of those.
Yeah, and my nan actually bought it for me at the Disney store in Liverpool, and I was one of those kids that was like, picked something up and then would never ever ask for it. So I put it back, and then we left the shop and my nan had bought it for me.
Oh, that's cute.
And I still have, is she here? I think she's here. Yeah, she's there. I still have it on my bed. My little sister stole her. So if Lucy, if you're listening, I have her back. So I think she's always been quite special for me in that sense. But I think, like you were talking about Tramp, I love Tramp's character and like his growth and his progression in the film. So, but for me, the best thing about them is them together. Like when they're together, that relationship that they managed to portray between two dogs, I don't think I'll ever get over it. Like, I just think it was so real. And I mean, I mentioned it again briefly, but I think the story itself is so much more emotive and believable than so many of like the cliche human romances that we've probably all seen in rom-coms.
Definitely.
So the amount of rom-coms that we watch and we think you have nothing in common, and like, you've gone on no journey together, and yet you're suddenly married. So I was just so impressed that they managed to just match them up as dogs. Like, it was
crazy, really impressive though, because I know what you mean. Like, when they're talking, it's nothing's forced. They just genuinely like have things in common. They know what to say to each other. They're comfortable around each other, and it's just very relatable, because like, I don't know, like, honestly, I was watching it as two dogs, and I'm in a relationship myself, and I was honestly just like relating to these dogs, like my own relationship with my boyfriend.
I'm sure your boyfriend is going to be thrilled that you think he's the Tramp.
Absolute compliment there. But seriously, I mean,
whilst you're the gorgeous lady from the high up house, like, oh, that's funny. But no, I agree. I think the magic of this film, like, I mean, the meatball scene in particular, like, you know, is beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
So between the meatball scene, the city views, the boat rides, they're fantastic. But what makes them even better is that true canine love story. Like, I think that's what makes the film for me, is that it's their love and their kind of like their friendship, really initially their friendship, and then the way that they kind of connect and the way that they make each other see the world differently. I love when that happens in films. It's one of my absolute favorite things, is when characters make each other see the world in a different way, and they both do that. And so for me, that's my favorite part about them as characters, is that they bring out the best in each other.
I completely agree. They have like a really positive impact on each other, and they basically just change their lives for each other. Like, they open new perspectives that they didn't even imagine, and it's one of those like moments where you can just tell that someone's been completely changed. Like, they just see the world differently because of this other person.
It's like when Tramp disappears and then you think he's not going to come back. Is it on the train or the oil rig or something like that?
It's in the train like station or something. Like,
that's it. And then like she gets stuck on the train or something, and then he legs it, and you think, okay, then that's fine. Just abandon her. That's fine. I mean, obviously it's a Disney movie, so I hoped he'd come back, but there was also a part of me full on judging him for leaving.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and you're like, do you know what, the tramp from like 30 minutes ago wouldn't have done that.
Exactly.
So I think that's what I really love about it. And the lady from like, 30 minutes ago wouldn't have gotten into that train.
Yeah.
So that's my favourite thing about it, definitely. I just love them as a pair. And I think there's so much that people can learn from them, and the way they have so many differences at the start, but they don't matter, because actually when someone needs help, or when you kind of bring it down to the real, bare bones of other dogs, humanity, we're the same. And I think it teaches people that you shouldn't judge other people, and that you can find an unlikely friend anywhere.
Yeah,
is really important.
Definitely. I think I completely agree with that. And I think like they're complete opposites to begin with. Like Lady's naive, quite innocent, Tramp's quite cynical, but Lady turns him into more of a realist, I think, and optimist in the end. And it's just nice, like you were saying, to have that impact on another person or dog in this case.
Yes. So we now then, in like the same segment, we're going to move into the music. So I have varied opinions on the music, so I'm going to ask you what you think, because music is, as we know we should know if you were listening last week, is my thing. Or the week before, actually. So Disney music is one of my big things, so I'd be interested to hear what you think about the music, Rosie.
So, I mean, I love the iconic scene at Tony's, so the meatball scene. I love the music there. I think it has it's very nostalgic anyway, but I think it has like more spirit to it and a bit more depth to it.
Like
this
the whole
time,
film,
I think,
though.
Because it's real. But I think because it's real people and real dogs. These people have actually gone and got these like what they think are stray dogs, like a plate and like got proper food off the menu. And there's even a joke from some customers. They're like, I thought they were out of the special, and they've just served the special to Lady and the Tramp. So like, I feel like the music in that scene has improved me. Like, I think it's made it even more special. I also do really enjoy the new rendition of He's a Tramp. I like it. I do think it's missing something. It's quite short. It's a shorter version than the original. But I do like, it's quite like subtle in the lyrics. I do like that in the lyrics you can tell that there are differences between Peg's relationship with the Tramp in the original and this one. So in this one, there is no mention that they had a relationship or anything like that.
That's what I was saying before.
You kind of, so it's like you could allude that maybe they have, but she's not saying that they have. Whereas in the original, she's straight up saying been burned by him before. So like, you're like, oh, okay, some drama's happened there. But in this one, you're like, you wouldn't really, I guess if you hadn't seen the original especially, you probably wouldn't think too much of it at all. And I do like that change. And I think, as we were saying, like, he maybe isn't a player in this one, maybe he is, it's just not alluded to as much. But I like that it kind of makes it more of a mystery, whereas he's just branded straight up as a player. I do like, I think it's Janelle Monáe, isn't it, that sings this one. I mean, I think her voice really, really suits
it really
the song.
does, yeah.
I think it's beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful version of it. I don't know, you might remember this better than I do, but I don't think she does the like what a dog thing, but like at the start of the song.
I don't think.
And I think that added something to the original because it made it a bit more like.
I think the original's a bit bouncier, whereas I think this one is a bit more nostalgic and reflective, was the way I remember it. I could be wrong, but that was just the way that I remember it now, having watched both of them. I think it did feel like the old one was like bouncier and more performative with it, and like it was more about, I think, probably echoing more like the song culture at the time as well, whereas I felt like this
definitely.
one, like it was a lot calmer, I think.
It was just very smooth.
Smooth is the word. It's
just very smooth, and it was just like a song that just kind of like continued through. There wasn't kind of like you say like the bouncing around sort of thing so much. It was like, here's the song, and then after the song, like they'd all have their conversation. But I really enjoyed it. The one that I have an issue with, I think it's called What a Shame, which is the new Siamese cats. Even though they're not really Siamese cats in this one, it's all changed. This song, like, it's just not memorable. It's not something I'd ever like play.
I couldn't sing it to you. No, I wouldn't have a clue what this song sounded like.
I mean, I watched the film yesterday, and I honestly can't remember the tune to it. Like,
that's not good, is it?
It's not. So I do think that was a bit of a letdown. And actually, I mean, I know we're talking about the music, but I do think that scene was a bit of a letdown as well. I didn't enjoy it. Like, I know they had to pay like tribute to the original and include it because they're part of the plot. But I just, it was one of the weaker points, I think, of the film. And the song obviously is part of that, and that's why it's one of the weaker points. And I just think the original song is very, like, you know, iconic because, you know that song, like it will get in your head if you've heard it. Whereas this one,
it's just a shame the original one was a bit racist, wasn't it, really?
Yes. Well, they couldn't exactly repeat
shame.
it. They couldn't repeat the original, but you'd hope that they'd come up with something better.
Well, I agree, because surely you'd want to, like, you know, the original was questionable.
Yes, of course.
So surely you'd want to create a more iconic song than that to, like, block it out. And they didn't, because it just drew attention to the fact that the song wasn't there and that it wasn't as good as the new one. Sorry, the new one wasn't as good as the old one. So it kind of, yes, they didn't include it, which is, I think, is the right decision to not include it. But I also just think, like, if you're not going to include it, you need to make it better so that people forget, if you like, about the other one. Not to say we should forget about things that have been offensive, but I think, you know, to stop people missing the old song and to stop them missing, like, you know, a racist interpretation, it'd have been better maybe putting more thought into that song so that it was catchy and you didn't miss the old one. And I missed the old song, which is a shame because it's racist, if that makes sense.
But it's catchy, that's the problem. Like, obviously it's problematic for sure, but it was memorable and catchy, so it was something that made a part of the film up. And it's what makes you think of that scene with the cats.
It was iconic in the film, wasn't it? So at the time it was the song that everyone would sing from the film. And you think, oh, Lady and the Tramp. So obviously, like you say, it's problematic, and definitely replace it. But if you're going to do that, make sure that what you replace it with is just as catchy so that you're not missing the problematic song.
Well, yeah, and because as well, I know the cats are needed to basically get Lady kicked out of the house. Like, I know that's like a plot point, but at the same time, honestly, like, if that's the song they came up with, I feel like they could have just
cut them out,
had a new plot point. Cut the cats out completely and had another reason she was out on the streets, like, because like it's just not a memorable part of the film for me. Like, I don't even think about it when I think of this film.
I forget it happens.
So, which isn't good.
No.
Especially when the rest of it,
it's so memorable.
Like I was saying, like the iconic Tony's scene when they're outside having their meatballs, the music for that is, like, spot on for me. And I think as well, the introductory music when the film's opening is just so nostalgic and perfect for the time it's meant to be set in, because it's meant to be set in 1909, like really, really early 1900s. So I think it's very, like, fitting for the time. So that's kind of what I think, but I know you've kind of got, like,
I have
more in-depth opinions.
So I mean, I think this is why it's quite good when we do these, because as much as I love the film, and I love Disney, I can acknowledge that something isn't perfect. Lots of the music for me felt really out of place. It felt like it was a bit mismatched. It felt like there wasn't a lot of flow between the music, etc. So obviously, understandably, the Siamese Cat song was removed, but it would have been far less noticeable if the song was gone if the replacement song had been even half as memorable or just good. Like, I'm sorry, Joseph, I think it's Joseph Trapanese is the composer. I'm really sorry, I feel really bad, but it was disappointing, and, like, it was one of those things you look forward to that iconic scene, and even if they just removed the song, like, and had a song that would have been better than, it's like Scar's Be Prepared, Don't Get Me Started.
In
the Lion King, like, if you're going to do it bad, people are going to just talk about that, whereas if you took it out, they'd be like, oh, I missed it, but they couldn't moan about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and then, like, Darling kept, like, singing Southern lullabies, which was, like, a bit odd, and, like, whilst the final song was, like, a really nice end to the film, like, it was a lovely way to, like, zoom back out with the pan shot, the random lullabies throughout the film for me just felt a little bit odd. I was like, they just kind of appeared, and I was like, is it a musical, is it not, like, I don't know. As I said, like, He's a Tramp was really enjoyable, but because the film only had the odd musical number, it just felt really disorientating because we weren't conditioned into believing in the random performances. So with something like Beauty and the Beast, where everyone sings every 5 seconds,
it's a musical.
You're in that musical zone, whereas I feel like when you were watching this one and a song just, like, appeared, I wasn't invested enough in the songs to enjoy them, if that makes sense. Like, again, I'm getting quite deep because music is my thing, and musicals are, like, something that I'm really into, but it just felt like when you watch the film, musical performances for me when you watch it aren't normality within the film. So by just putting, like, random ones in because they were in the original, it just felt really disorientating. But having said this, Bellinotte was short, sweet, and beautiful. Like, I'm glad they kept that one, and it matched with the theme of the restaurant. I'm so glad they kept that in. I was worried they weren't going to at one point. I was like, where's the song?
Yeah, you're kind of waiting because it's a longer film, so there was longer wait for that moment.
Yeah, I was like, where's my song? And I've also been to the side note. I went to Tony's restaurant in Disney World, Magic Kingdom Disney World. It's beautiful. They've got like a Lady and the Tramp fountain. The service was a bit poor, not gonna lie. I mean, it was the lowest tip I gave my whole trip. But the actual place is stunning, and I got spaghetti and meatballs. Well, actually, it was spaghetti and one massive meatball.
Oh.
So if you're gonna get them, I mean, it was nice, but it was a lot.
It was different to what's served in the film.
Yeah, it was not as advertised. It was one massive meatball. But to be fair, I'd go just for the pictures. We sat next to it and had great cake. So it was quite nice because it's like, again, when you come away and you watch a film, like you felt like you'd been there because it matched the tablecloths and stuff. So slight side note, if you're in Magic Kingdom, I mean, give it a go. It was nice. Just, I can't remember our server's name, but if you were waiting 20 minutes for your drink after you've ordered, then the same guy, sorry. So I think I love Bellinotte, and lots of the backing music and character themes were also beautiful. Like you said, lots of the instrumentals were gorgeous additions to the film, like on the riverboat and on
that was really nice.
The hill. They really added to it. I just really wish the directors decided whether it was a musical or not.
I agree, yeah.
Because I think they could have added in some more lovely songs. Like, it would have been quite nice maybe if had songs from Lady or from Tramp or like whatever.
Yeah.
But it just felt like they kind of threw the random music, like the random songs in, and it just was a bit disorientating for the film for me. I mean, you may disagree, and I think other people might disagree. Like, it didn't negatively impact the film for me. I didn't think, oh my god, I hate this, but it felt weird when I was watching it. Like, why are they suddenly singing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, so the one thing I would disagree on is I really enjoyed the lullabies. Like, I thought they were really sweet, and I actually felt they fit the scenes that they were in, because it was kind of like an introductory lullaby and then a final lullaby in the end scene. So I kind of liked that because you knew you were at the beginning and the end of the film, and I do think it was just quite sweet, like, to have something else from Darling as well, because the thing is, Jim, Dear and Darling, though they are ladies owners, they are, well, especially in the original, they're very minor parts. I mean, in the original, you don't see their faces in the original.
No.
So we get a lot more of them in this one.
And can we also appreciate that Darling was a lady of colour?
Oh yeah, so exactly.
I think that has to be added in there.
Definitely,
especially for the time period of the film. It could have been a very easy excuse to be like,
well,
oh no, it would have been a white neighbourhood. So well done, Disney, for including, is it Tessa Thompson?
No, so that's what I was going to say. Yeah, and also Tessa Thompson was cast for Lady's voice. So again, well done there, because that's more diversity and
more
like
representation.
Yeah, and like you say, they could have easily used the excuse of the time period.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think with the lullabies, I'll agree. Like I say, I really like the last one. I just felt like throughout the middle bit, I was a bit like, what's happening? What is she thinking? But so we'll agree to disagree on that one. But I did like the last one. And the last one I thought was a beautiful way to end the film.
Yeah.
And it was like a really natural, like, drawing out of the house and how they like then zoom back out. I love that. I just really wish they decided what their approach was with music and just stuck with it.
I agree, because it is a bit disjointed. I think like when the songs just pop up randomly, you kind of like, you're like, oh, like there's a song now, like, and then there's just like loads of dialogue for ages, and there's another song, and you're kind of not really sure like what's going to come next.
It doesn't really add to it. That was a problem for me. It's like, normally with a musical, as I say, I'm a massive musicals fan. The point of music and songs in a film or whatever is to add meaning and to add impact.
Yeah.
And I felt like in this movie, unfortunately, it didn't. Like the actual backing tracks were beautiful and they did, but the actual songs, I just felt like, apart from Bellinotte, that's always going to be incredible, I think. So, but again, that's for a nostalgic purpose as well, and because it's so iconic. Yeah. But I do think that it was missing. It just didn't add anything to the film for me. So I think that was my problem.
Well, I was just thinking as you were saying that, I think what it could have had was something like Speechless from Aladdin. So that is an absolute like
True.
brilliant move that they did for Aladdin by making a new song. So Jasmine had a bit more of a voice in terms of like singing and stuff.
Such a good
and
song.
I think like maybe Lady or the Tramp, or they could have had like a duet or something.
That would have been amazing.
I think maybe a duet would have been the way forward, actually, because Disney do duets quite well for animal characters.
They do.
So maybe that could have added something. I don't know.
I mean, true, because I guess when you think about it, like most like other people sing, so like obviously Pegs sings.
Yeah.
Like Darling sings, like the man in like Toadie sings,
yeah.
And whereas like the main two characters don't. So maybe that is the problem, is the fact that everyone else seems to sing around them and they don't.
It's
so
like,
it's a bit weird. And they're the main characters. So because the songs are really short as well, like so the song starts and ends, and you're like, oh well, that didn't have an impact on anything. Did it?
Yeah, because He's a Tramp in this one is only like 1:30 or something. It's really, really short compared to the original one, which I think is like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. I suppose, again, though, in the original, they didn't give him the backstory.
Yeah, they
had to use that song to give more character to Tramp, whereas in the new one, because you get his backstory, I guess you didn't necessarily need, which is what I'm saying, the song didn't actually add anything new, because we knew more about Tramp's background
from like
him.
the dialogue and flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. I think like they could have done more with the music. I didn't like that song. But the others I was happy with, and it didn't affect it too much for me, in the sense that
when I was watching it didn't make me think like, oh, I want to turn it off.
Exactly. Like
So
so all in all, I'd say it was pretty well done for music, but then again, I'm not an expert in that, so
I mean, I'm not either. I'm just very strongly opinionated about music.
And
I think as someone who like has studied, like I look at musicals and study that quite a lot with degrees, and just because I'm interested in them, every musical song is supposed to move something forward or reveal something.
Like for the
these
plot.
songs for me didn't do either. They didn't kind of move the plot on, and they didn't reveal anything extra about any characters. So for me, it just felt a little bit like they were forgettable. That was
you could have taken them out, and the film would have worked without them, basically. Like you could have had no music apart from the instrumentals in that film, and it would have worked.
Because the instrumentals did add. I'll give that. The instrumentals did add.
They did. They were beautiful.
So yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that we had like quite different opinions on that.
It's the first time we've kind of had, I think this one's brought out more differences, which is nice. Yeah. It's good. Hopefully it's more entertaining.
Instead of just like agreeing with every single thing.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
So, that brings us on to our fourth fun fact of the episode. So this film had a cast of 16 dogs trained for the film, and not including the canine extras present in the pound scene. So that's
extra dogs.
I know, that's a lot of dogs. Like that's quite chaotic. Like when you've got to think about like
can you imagine
training them and things. I mean, it's not quite lions like it would have been for Lion King.
Or extinct monkeys, as you said.
That would have been interesting.
I mean, can you imagine being like the dog trainer for this film? That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is really. And obviously they've got like understudy like dogs for like Lady and Tramp, which is funny, isn't it? I don't know why that's so funny, but but it's also, I guess, quite a fun job because animals, but maybe that's just because I love animals, as we know.
Maybe that's your calling.
Maybe that's what I need to do.
That's really funny. So I guess then, as we're going to round up, like just a quick roundup on the film, maybe like a rating if you want to go with a rating. What are your like brief, quick concluding thoughts on the film summary?
Okay, I think it's beautiful. I think it's nostalgic. I would happily watch it again anytime. The one thing that I would say, and it's no fault of Disney's at all, but the one thing I would say is it feels like a Christmas film to me in terms of like...
Oh my God, yeah!
Because it starts off at Christmas, of course, and with the snow as well. And I just think, like in another time, like when it wasn't like Disney Plus being released later than the US, for us it would have been nice to have had it in November leading up to Christmas, because it's just quite a cozy, warm...
That's so true.
Film. And I just think it was, really... like that adds nostalgia to it as well, maybe being a Christmas film. I mean, I love Christmas films, so that's probably
we will have
reason.
To watch this as a Christmas film now.
I just think like it features Christmas, but that's obviously no fault of Disney, just like something I guess a recommendation for you guys to do. Just watch it near Christmas.
Watch it at Christmas.
And then characters, I love Lady and I love Tramp, but I do love all the other characters as well. I don't think I have any issues with any of the characters. I think they're all great. I think they're quite well rounded as well. Like Jock, like we said, not necessary to be a female, but nice.
It was pleasant.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Didn't like make anything like wrong with the film. So and I think I definitely recommend it to people to watch it. And actually, I think as you said, I actually do agree. I think it is better than the original.
Don't come for us. I'm sorry if you prefer the
Yeah,
original.
sorry if you're like a die-hard classics fan and this is your favourite film ever.
We're quite modern Disney fans.
We
You're going to
are.
find that out.
Well, this
sorry.
is the thing. Like, we don't mind Disney doing things to old films. Some people do. They don't want anything touched.
The old ones are still there, though. That's the thing. So if you don't like, as Hal mentioned in a second about the liking, I can very easily go back to the animation. I can go back if I don't like it. So I think it gives people that option. So yeah, we're quite modern Disney fans, aren't we?
We are. Yeah, I think we're just open to you know, whatever Disney want to do, and we'll just kind of take it.
We trust them, don't we?
We do. And and I just think it's a nice love story, especially for dogs. I think it's very mature, extremely mature when you think about it. And racing, wow, it's hard actually to do a racing for this one because I don't want to go too overboard, but right now, after speaking about it in such a way where I'm like, I love this film. Ooh,
I think I've got mine. I seem to have a gut instinct with numbers more than you do. This is quite interesting, actually, that we're learning about each other.
Well, I'm a bit indecisive as a person, though, so that doesn't help. I think I'm going to go 8.
Oh, interesting. That's quite close to mine, to be fair.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
8 because it's not perfect, and I've got some perfect Disney films, so it's not perfect.
We've already agreed what our 10s are going to be. Like,
we know what our 10s are. 9s are quite hard.
Yeah.
8 for me is a solid film. I'd rewatch it. I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
That's an 8 for me.
Right. Well. Yes, so I realised it's something I didn't kind of have a chance to mention, I guess. It was a disappointment that I missed it out in the earlier bit. So one of the things that kind of brings it down a little bit for me is the fact that I mentioned this to you earlier, Rosie, that they removed Tramp's nickname for Lady when he calls her Pigeon. He calls her Pidge throughout the original movie because like she's so naive, and like he nicknames her Pidge. And I quite liked it because the nickname creates two things, like an instant connection between them, that like if someone gives you a nickname, you kind of have like a weird instant bond. And the affectionate, like it creates like an affectionate soft spot that Tramp has for Lady, even from the beginning. So even from the beginning, when they're not kind of like getting on as well, it kind of shows like he still has that soft spot and kind of foreshadows the rest of it. So although it was only a small detail, I think it would have been quite nice if this was like included, personally. So I'm a bit gutted that was missed out. But anyway, moving on from that, it's fine. I'm over it, kind of. So yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved the cinematography. I mean, it's one of the ones that I definitely watch again. It's not like a top 5, maybe, you know, something like that. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For me, so I'm going 7.5.
Interesting.
I know.
Okay.
Only because I think for me, like I said, there was a few things. So like the fact that I'd probably watch it, I wouldn't watch it as often as maybe some of like my more classic favourites.
Yeah.
Even like my 8 to 10s, I probably wouldn't watch them as much as that, but I would be excited to watch it, which I think is the difference. So obviously, when we chatted about Snow White last week, I was kind of dreading watching Snow White.
Dear.
Even though I enjoyed it in the end, like in its own way, I wasn't looking forward to watching it as much as I would look forward to watch this film. I really enjoyed it. And it made me want a dog. So clearly Disney have done the job correct.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'm glad we kind of agree, like we've kind of got the same review of it and opinion of it.
Because even though we've got slight differences, and I think we're in sync in terms of where Disney movies sit on a scale. I think we are quite in sync.
I think so. I think we have the same appreciation. So we can admit where there's flaws. We won't be that kind of person that'll be like, it's a Disney film, it's perfect because it's Disney. Because that's just not real life, is it? So we will admit the flaws in Disney films. But we have the same like appreciation for the excellence that Disney has when they go above and beyond in their films. True. And I do think they did that in this scene with the hill. Hill scene
the hill. Well, so that kind of closes up our little Lady and the Tramp discussion. Definitely go and watch it, and if you haven't watched it already, we'd love to like hear what you think over like on Instagram, and let us know what your thoughts are, whether you agree with us because you may hate it. Just tell us, it's fine. So then moving on to like the last few minutes of today's episode, we promised you some Disney Plus recommendations. So Rosie, I'm going to offer for you to go first, because I feel like you've explored more new stuff than I have.
Well, kind of. I mean, I've gone for quite niche areas, so apologies if this isn't for you, friends. My first recommendation is actually High School Musical, the series. So it's not a film. As well. Apologies if that's not what you were expecting, but I mean, that series, if you love High School Musical, then watch it. Because some people might find it too cringe, but
I thought it was going to be horrific, and I was dreading it.
Me too. Me
and
too.
we were both instantly proved wrong. We used to text each other every week being like, oh my god, have you seen it? And when we'd we texted her on Friday like, have you seen it, so we can chat about it.
Literally, I used to look forward to it because it came out on Fridays and I used to watch it on Friday night.
I used to watch it at Friday lunchtime. Yeah.
And that was my Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, it was quite sad. Like, I literally look forward to watching that on my Friday night. Everyone else would be like out doing stuff.
I was the same.
And I'd be like, nope, High School Musical the series for me. But issues with it is that the episodes are quite short, so just brace yourself. But you've got them all there, so you can binge.
Yeah, that's true. You don't have to go through our struggle of waiting a week.
Yeah, that was a bit painful, but I understand why they had to do it.
It made us value it more. It's fine.
Definitely.
But next time, Disney, we want hour-long episodes.
Yes, please. So yeah, and season 2 is out like hopefully soonish. It's been a bit delayed due to COVID, I think, but well, it'll be around soon. So yeah, definitely recommend that. My other recommendations are a bit more niche, and they are Star Wars: The Clone Wars. What I would say, yeah, if you haven't watched Star Wars, like, just give it a watch anyway, because the whole like all of the films are on Disney Plus. So if there's ever a time to try it, now is the time, because you've got it all there, like just a few clicks away. But I would say, like, if you enjoy the films, and you want a bit more of a background for Star Wars and like an explanation for some of the plots and the characters, Clone Wars is excellent for this. And it's an animated series, and I know sometimes animated series aren't as good as like live action ones, but this is definitely in my top 5 series of all time.
Wow,
I love it.
Wow,
it's incredible. Like, and I'm quite a, like, I don't know, I like animated series as well. And I've only recently become a hardcore Star Wars fan. Like, I've always like enjoyed it since I first watched it, but recently, due to Disney Plus, I've been even more converted. So if you like Star Wars, give Clone Wars a watch, because it will blow your mind, to be honest. So yeah, they're my like top recommendations, I think.
Okay, cool. That's quite good, because mine are quite different, so that's good. So my first one is a bit more, I know you've watched this one as well, Rosie. It's really niche. So it's called Zenimation.
Oh yeah.
And it's odd, and it's a really weird concept, but it's great. So they're like 5-minute episodes that kind of, they do Disney scenes without music over the top, but they do them via theme. So I watched the water one, and it's meant to be like a calming, like relaxation, like background noise. I mean, it's nice for that, but I just appreciated it for watching scenes without music. So like, there's like scenes in there for Moana where they're all like in the ocean, and it feels more real, the film. I don't know what it is. So I mean, that was just like a nice 5-minute appreciation for Disney. I haven't even watched them all yet. I think I've only watched 1 or 2, but I was so impressed. I thought it was going to be rubbish, and I was like, what a ridiculous idea. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh, I really like
therapeutic. Very therapeutic. I would recommend just for that.
A bit addictive as well, actually. I was like, I want to watch the next one. So that's like a more niche one, but something if you'd like to see something slightly different and quick, because it's really quick.
Yeah.
Then my next one, as you may have guessed as a musical fan, is Hamilton. So,
of course, yeah.
When this came out as an announcement that it's coming out, I was so excited, because for those fellow musical fans out there, you will know how hard and expensive it is to get a ticket for Hamilton. Like, when I was in America a few years ago, I was like, well, just for fun, I know we wouldn't get one. I was like, for fun, let's see how much a ticket on the door would be. Tickets were starting at $220, and that was before a ticket had even been cancelled. There was a queue outside the door waiting to cancel tickets. I was like, this is insane.
It's mad.
So when they announced it was going to be on here for free, I again was counting down the days. So it came out. I mean, it's incredible. Like, even I also, as a musical fan, didn't think I'd like Hamilton, and then one of my friends from uni convinced me to watch it. Actually, it convinced me to listen to the soundtrack, because I was like, I don't like rap, and he was like, just listen to it, and I was like, oh, fine. Not that he listened to my recommended soundtracks, but anyway, that's and I fell in love with it. Like, it's so clever, it's educational, but in a fun way. Like, the story's amazing, the characters are amazing. So getting to watch it on the TV was fantastic. I mean, it will never replace a theatre, but it's beautiful, and it gives you a chance to kind of see it and kind of, I guess if you'd want to pay that amount of money to see it in the theatre as well. Yeah. It would be a lot of money to pay if you didn't like it. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. Even if you're not a musical fan, give it a go, because it's slightly different to traditional musicals. So give that one a go. And then like my final one, if you like, is the all the Marvel films.
The collection.
As I've mentioned briefly, I've actually only got one left. I've got the last Spider-Man movie to watch because that's not on Disney Plus. So the entire like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they are all on there apart from Hulk,
Spider-Man's,
and
Hulk.
Spider-Man's.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So there's only 3 films out of like 24, I think.
Yeah.
24, 25 that on there. So I just kind of watched all of those in like chronological order, if you like, in terms of their world. Highly recommend, because I mean, the fact that it's so easy, we've said about like on demand, it's so easy to watch them, and it's that because of like Disney's graphics and HD and all that kind of stuff on the platform, the quality is amazing. I mean, I remembered one bad thing about Disney Plus. I remembered one bad thing, the sound. Have you had this problem?
No, I haven't. What, is it quiet or something?
When you have a song on, when you don't have a song on, it's so quiet. So I have to turn it right up, like.
Actually, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Then when a song comes on, it like blasts out at me, so I have to turn the sound down, and then they start talking again, and I have to turn it up. So it's a bit of a trial. I listen with headphones now. I use my headphones, link it to my Xbox, which is better. But I've found one.
There is something.
See, we're not completely biased, so that's one thing. But again, like I listen to the Hamilton thing with earphones, and the sound's incredible. Same with the Marvel Cinematic Universe theme tracks and stuff, beautiful sound and stuff that you get from there. So that's my recommendation, because I was a Marvel virgin actually till a few years ago, and I was definitely like, I hadn't seen most of the Marvel films up until this year. Rosie and Danielle, our other friend, got me into it, so recommend that one. They're my recommendations for now. I think we need to watch some of the newer stuff. So like, I don't know about you, but like I've got a watch list.
I've got a watch list as well. Same.
It's not as detailed, but One Day at Disney is what I want to watch.
Same. That's on mine.
I want to watch Howard, the new documentary about the musician, like the composer.
Yeah.
They're also bringing out a new thing in a few weeks called, is it One Day at Animal Kingdom, or the Making of Animal Kingdom or something?
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Where they go behind the scenes with the animals, Animal Kingdom, and I am buzzing for that one.
Me too.
I've also got other recommendations from other great people that have kind of given me recommendations. So Fairy Tale Weddings at Disney are supposed to be incredible.
That looks really good
and quite revealing. So yeah, they're kind of the ones that I think we need to watch and then review and then get back to you on, because they've been recommended to us. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've actually just thought of another recommendation as well.
Go for it.
Finish up this segment. Waking Sleeping Beauty. So this is a documentary about animation. And actually you talking about Howard made me think of it, because he's in it. So like his story of his animation during The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, it's basically like about the golden era of Disney animation. And it's so interesting. I'd really highly recommend it. If you're interested in like the background of Disney and the stories behind their films and the animation processes and things, definitely give that a watch. It's really, really good. That's definitely one of my recommendations as well for Disney Plus.
And another thing, they've also just introduced a Celebrate Black Stories category on there, which I am really excited about. So I've obviously watched Black Panther, which is part of that incredible film. Even if you don't like Marvel, that film stands on its own, so go and watch that. Yeah, it's got Michael B. Jordan in it as well, so why would you not? You know, incredible black female leads, fantastic. So if you're someone who's kind of looking to expand your like watching list that includes more like people of color and films of color, etc., go and check out the Celebrate Black Stories collection on there, because there's a variety of stuff on there as well, so give that a look.
Yes, and actually, just before we move on, I also appreciate how Disney Plus categorizes everything for you.
Yes, in different ways. Yeah, it's not just by like year, it's by like what mood you're in. And
and I like how when you go on the search button, it's not just a plain search. It's like there's loads of things below it where it's like Disney Channel classics, Disney through the era, Mickey classics. It's great. Like I love that. I need that kind of guidance, because I'm so indecisive what I watch. So I need them to push something to me and be like, watch this.
That's so true. And the fact that they have all the categories, and then the fact that like there's always something new. And I think it's really useful in terms of like finding what you want and what what you could watch. So I completely agree. I think it's really well made. Even like the collections, when you can go into like, you know, the Muppets collection or like Disney Channel collection or Winnie the Pooh collection, and you can kind of, so I'm a massive Winnie the Pooh fan, as you all know. And I went into that collection and found movies I didn't even know existed. So I think it's great for them to put everything together. Yeah, it's just really user-friendly and accessible, especially for like parents, for kids as well. Like it's just a lot easier for them to find things. So
yeah, that's definitely.
We'll stop talking now. We'll stop.
Yeah,
we'll stop rambling, and we'll probably do like another bit about Disney Plus in the future and like more recommendations.
Because there's just so much we could talk about.
We could talk for hours, so we won't bore you.
We'll leave it there. So on that note, thank you very much for listening to this episode. I hope you've enjoyed our ramblings about Disney Plus and of course Lady and the Tramp, and I hope we've inspired you to go and watch it and see what your thoughts are on it as well.
Yeah.
And if you've enjoyed this, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, because we're on Apple, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I feel so legit being on Apple. It just feels so exciting.
It feels so official. You can also follow us on Podbean as well. So we've actually got, Casey actually kindly created a link tree on our social media. So it just means that you can click into the link and it gives you all the options to find where our podcast is. So if you've got a preferred platform, you can click on that one.
Because you can listen on YouTube as well, because we know that not everyone is into because Podbean is the way that we kind of stream. It's the platform that allows us to do this, but you can go in and kind of just listen straight via Safari. That's fine. But if you do prefer, like if you're a YouTuber, we do have YouTube as well that you can subscribe and listen on there as well. So
yeah, exactly. And if you want to leave a review or just any like comments, because maybe you've watched it since listening to this episode and decided that we said something incredibly wrong or we missed something out and you're shocked, so you just want to tell us about that, please.
We probably have missed things out. It's a long film, so
definitely
feel free.
You could talk for hours about it, so yeah, definitely leave a review or a comment, because we would love to read them. And make sure to leave your Instagram handle so that we can give you some love over on Instagram and maybe continue the debate or conversation over there as well. So thank you very much for listening.
So we mentioned last time about the potential for like online shops and advertising slots. We haven't released that yet, sorry. We will actually do it for next time, I promise. We're actually going to sort that out. So a sign up session for that. But coming up next time, I'm really excited for doing our first Disney Parks episode, which is really exciting because we can't go at the minute. So we'll try not to get too emotional. So specifically, we'll be looking at like changes to rides between 2017 and 2020, because there have been a lot. There have been a lot that have been announced. There have been a lot that have been cancelled. There's been a lot that have happened. So we'll talk about those. So if you're a Disney Parks fan or you want to know more about like different rides in all the Disney parks, listen in next time. So yeah, obviously you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube. You can subscribe to all of our different platforms. You don't have to. We're not going to pressure you, but they're the best places to kind of keep up to date with new episodes and new content and stuff like that. Also, when we will be eventually releasing a giveaway, we're just kind of working out the best way to do that at the minute with COVID and stuff, because Rosie and I are so far away at the moment. Well, we're not that far away.
Yeah, we don't live together, so
we're not that far away, but it feels like so far away because we can't see each other.
It does.
So yeah, once we kind of get a bit up to see each other, we'll talk more about giveaways and stuff, and we'll be posting that on Instagram. Our photo challenge is kind of like just over halfway through, so on day 20 now. Special shout out to, I'm going to put up the people that have kind of been with us along, because I think it's worth it.
Yeah, dedication has happened.
So yeah, we've been impressed. So we've had quite a few accounts that have taken part either sporadically or regularly, but I'm going to give special shout outs to people who've kind of been there with us for a while. So I'm just going to pull them up because I feel like they deserve a shout out.
It's just nice.
So yeah, so our tag isn't loading at the minute. That's really sad. I think Instagram's having a moment, but I remember there's like Crazy Disney Lady and there's like Chewy Pinned, I think is the other one as well.
Yeah, that's one of the regulars, so definitely.
Those two are the ones that I think tend to post like the most. So thank you so much. We love seeing your photos every day. Like, it's lovely. So thank you for that. If there's still time to get involved, you can kind of post as and whenever you want to. Rosie and I both post a different picture each day based on the different themes. So like, for example, coming up, we've got loads of different things coming up over them. We've got Disney group shots, Disney villains coming up, Disney accessories, Disney jumpers and stuff like that. So there's still loads of great picture challenges to get involved with. So head over to that. If you tag us and you just tag Sprinkle of Disney photo challenge, we'll share your post, we'll give you some love, and that'll be great. And then you can obviously, if any inquiries about if you want to collaborate or anything like that, just email us at a sprinkledisneypodcast@gmail.com, and so you can just contact us for anything, if you just want to chat. We've been a Sprinkle of Disney. Have a magical rest of your day.